It's no surprise that Ron DeSantis is supporting the Israeli government and their genocide against the Palestinian people. At least he and Biden have something in common, both Christian Zionists.
So I think Israel has every right. The question's about the Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel has every right to defend itself and defend its people. And when you have
But killing innocent men, women, and children is not self-defense. Destroying 70% of the infrastructure is not self-defense. Starving 500,000 of the population is not self-defense. People can keep pretending that the Israeli government is just defending itself, but when 20,000 plus innocent men, women, and children die, and most of them being women and children, that's not self-defense.
have a terrorist group like Hamas that is dedicated to creating a second Holocaust, I think that they would be foolish not to want to end that problem once and for all. I think Hamas.
But committing a genocide is not the answer, which is what Bibi has talked about, and several other government officials have spoken about that they're going to do a genocide by making Gaza and the West Bank so unlivable, and then rebuilding it for the Israeli people. And what do you call um, the Israeli settlers killing innocent people and taking their land, but not a genocide as well?
Could end it by an unconditional surrender. I don't think that they're going to do it. So I think our role as Israel being an ally is not that this is our fight, but that we should stand behind them in public and private so that they're able to do what they think to protect their people. To be putting babies in ovens, to be brutally raping and murdering women, to be doing what they did to senior citizens, this is
Yeah, no one is saying that it's justified and that the Israeli government doesn't have a right to defend itself against people doing that. The problem is the Israeli government is doing the same thing to the Palestinian people, killing innocent men, women, and children, burning them alive in hellfire, using phosphorus bombs, shooting kids in the back of the head. Stop pretending that the Israeli government is just defending itself, because it's obviously not just a self-defense war.
completely barbaric conduct. This was a new depth of depravity, even more animalistic than what ISIS used to do. You're just going to say that they can just be right on your border? Because I think about it from like America's perspective. If someone was firing missiles from the Bahamas into like Fort Lauderdale, we would never accept that. We would flatten anything that happened. It would be done. Like literally with.
So, I mean, yeah, the United States would defend itself, but the United States wouldn't just start indiscriminately bombing every inch of the Bahamas, and no nation in the world would accept that.
Within 12 hours, it'd be done. We would never, ever demand that our citizens lived under that type of threat. And that's not even talking.
But this is Ron DeSantis justifying to his crowd that the United States would also do a genocide if they were attacked, which is why it's okay for the Israeli government to genocide an entire group of people.
Talking about the intrusion and the invasion and the terrorist attack. So they've had to live under these circumstances. But here's the thing. Let's just be honest about what has happened in terms of the history. Because I look at these college campuses, and you have students that are protesting.
Well, the history of it is 75 years ago, uh, several governments decided to expel a bunch of Palestinians from their land, killing a bunch of them, and creating the Israeli government. The Israeli government was created in a genocide of Palestinians.
Protesting in favor of Hamas terrorists. And I'm thinking to myself, what would possess you to do that?
But no one is defending Hamas. People are defending the Palestinian people. To say that every single Palestinian person is Hamas is idiotic and asinine.
And I think some of these people, I think maybe some are just really bad apples. I think a lot of them are just ignorant. A lot of them think that this is somehow the cool thing to do.
But this is another way of spewing a bunch of propaganda, saying that anytime anybody defends or supports a Palestinian person or Palestinian people protest and against the Israeli government, that they're somehow Hamas. And that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You got a bunch of Israelis protesting against the Israeli government. Does that make them Hamas?
I kind of get it's sad, but I watch, they say Israel's a colonial power. Really? If you open up a Bible, you go back thousands of years, those were Jewish lands.
Okay, the Bible doesn't work here. 75 years ago, the Palestinians lived there. They were fine until a bunch of Zionists convinced Britain to create a Israeli state for them. Then they committed a genocide against the Palestinian people and expelled a bunch of them. Then you got the Israeli settlers, which are killing people in the West Bank and taking their land. So yes, they are a colonial power.
They're the ones that got displaced from people coming in over many years. They were displaced. They came back and settled.
But if you want to use the Bible, a lot of that displacement is because they were being punished by their God. So what do you have to say about that?
In the Holy Land, with starting in the late 1800s, there's the movement to have a Jewish state. And then what happened after World War II?
Yeah, Zionism. That's how the Israeli state got created. Zionism is just a movement for supremacy.
The UN created a partition plan, a Jewish state and an Arab state. Israel accepted the partition plan, the Arabs rejected it, and they invaded Israel, and they were trying to...
Well, yeah, because people didn't want to be forced out of their homes, so they fought against being expelled off their land. That's why people fought back.
Kill the Jewish state in its crib. Israel won that war. Israel fended off in a preemptive attack in '67.
It doesn't matter. The only way that the Israeli state was created was by killing a bunch of Palestinians and expelling others. So the Israeli state is a colonial power.
Boer War in '73, all these intifadas. So throughout this whole time, Palestinian Arabs have not been seeking their own state, they've been seeking the destruction of the Jewish state. And that is just the fact of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, what a bunch of BS. Like, what do you expect people to do when another group comes in and says, hey, this land is now mine, either leave or I'm going to kill you? People are going to fight back. And that's why people fought back against the creation of the Israeli government, because people didn't want to be expelled from their homes.
Israel's been willing to make concessions throughout many, many decades, but the reality is, how do you have that situation when the other side doesn't accept your right to exist as a Jewish state? So I think they have...
Okay, what about the Israeli government not accepting the right of the Palestinians to actually have a state, which is why Bibi helps Hamas get funding through Qatar instead of helping the Palestinian Authority, which does want a two-state solution.
They have a right to defend their people, and I think they have a right to avoid a second Holocaust. Yeah?
It's funny how Ron Desantis says that Israel has the right to defend itself, but when Palestinians try to defend themselves, they get labeled Hamas and murdered by the Israeli government. How does that make any sense that one group of people gets to defend themselves, but innocent Palestinians don't get to defend themselves? If a 8-year-old boy throws a rock at an IDF member or a tank, they get blown to smithereens, and that's called self-defense by the IDF. How does that make any sense? Can somebody actually make that make sense?